Like The Contract, I was inspired by Lone Survivor. Hi, and welcome to this channel update / Q&A / behind the scenes. Honestly, I'm not even sure what I'm doing right now, but this channel has been quiet for a while, so I thought I'd give a sign of life. In this video I will answer most of your questions. I'll talk about the future of this channel and upcoming machinimas like News and The Shrink, and show you some behind the scenes. Before I begin, try not to mind my English please, because as you can hear I'm not an excellent English speaker, but good enough to understand. So let's start with your questions. Beforehand I want to say that if you have questions regarding the basics of machinima making, like mods and how to use them, animations, setting up scenes, etc. I recommend you subscribe to Noah's channel and watch his videos, because I think he can explain it way better than I do, but I will show my workflow later on in this video. The first question is from Michael Slenderman. Why use real life cars? Well, the first reason is very simple. I just think they look way better than the vanilla cars, especially with the mods these days. But there's also a thought behind it. I'm not only using real life cars, but also weapons, agencies and locations, because I created kind of my own GTA universe where the world of GTA exists in real life. So cities like Los Santos or Liberty City are fictional, but the rest is real. This gives me the opportunity to travel to other real life countries, like I did in The Contract, but also implement real life events to give the story a more realistic and kind of a recognizable experience. Minijam asks, how do I promote my videos? Well, first of all, I don't see it as promoting, but more like sharing. Way back I started sharing my work on GTA forums. There's a dedicated forum where you can share your work with other creators, but I believe it's pretty dead right now, but maybe worth trying. A lot of the creators moved to the Machinima Discord server, where a lot of the creators come together to share their stuff, but also ask for help and give their own tips and tricks to other creators. I've met a lot of really talented people on that server, and I think my machinimas wouldn't have looked the way they are today without their help. Besides that, I use Twitter and sometimes Reddit to share my work. Isaac Vibes sums up a lot of the questions, so I'll use his comment to answer most of yours. His first question is how I find well-dedicated voice actors. Well, to be honest, they're pretty hard to find. But money makes a lot of people dedicated, so that's what I did for all my machinimas I have on my channel right now. I use this website called Fiverr, where you can find all sorts of freelance services for a lower price most of the time. Of course you have to look for them. No, I'm not sponsored by Fiverr in any way. So that's where I found my voice actors for bigger roles. But I also ask friends or fellow creators to lend their voice for smaller parts. For the upcoming machinima I started using Casting Call Club, where you can create your own project and add different roles like voice actors, sound designers, music designers. And after that people can volunteer to work on your project. Honestly, I think these people who volunteer are more dedicated because they're creating their own portfolio, but are also interested in your work, so they're more likely to give everything they have to offer. The next question is how I manage to make time for these projects. Well, I don't. It's something I do in my spare time, and there's not a lot of that unfortunately, but I'll come back on that later. Isaac also asks, how long did it take to fully master the Rockstar editor, overall camera movements and video editing? I started working with the Rockstar editor about 3 or 4 years ago, I believe. And shortly after that I started editing these videos in Windows Movie Maker. Yes, Windows fucking Movie Maker. And I can tell you one thing, it was not good. And to prove that I dug deep in my dark, ugly archive to find this masterpiece.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's unheard of. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lying in chalk. I really hate the trip, but I gotta low. As they croak, I see myself in the pistol smoke. Fool, I'm the kind of G the little homies wanna be like, on my knees in the night, saying prayers in the street light. Been spending most of their lives living in the gangster's paradise. We've been spending most of their lives the situation they got me facing. I can't live a normal life, I was raised by the state, so I gotta be down with the hood team. Too much television watching got me chasing dreams. I'm an educated fool with money on my mind. Got my tin in my hand and a gleam in my eye. I'm a loped out gangster, set tripping banker, and my homies is down, so don't arouse my anger. Fool, death ain't nothing but a heartbeat away. I'm living life, do or die. What can I say? I'm 23 now, but will I live to see 24? The way things is going, I don't know. Tell me why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me?
Another few minutes, it'll all be over. What just happened?
Yeah, I know. But even now, I don't consider myself a master of the Rockstar editor, camera movements, or editing overall. I consider myself pretty decent, but it took a long time and practice, as you can see. I recommend you just start doing when it comes to machinima making or filmmaking overall. Besides that, you can find everything about filmmaking on YouTube these days. At least that's what I did, besides watching way too many movies. The next question is what my word is to people who are struggling to try and make films but keep failing. First, I don't consider myself a success. Second, when do you really fail? When you don't get enough views or likes? I don't think so. If that's your goal, maybe you should find another hobby. I consider it to be a success when I manage to finish a project I love making, and when I see improvements in my own work. I consider it to be a success when I learn something in the process, together with the people I'm working with. And yeah, if other people like your work, it feels great, I'm not gonna lie. But don't make it because other people like it, but make it because you like making it. Otherwise, you will keep dragging yourself down. The last question is what mods I use to create my machinimas and get the best quality. Well, of course, they differ in each machinima, but there are a few that I use all the time. I use Minjo as my main trainer, sometimes combined with Simple Trainer. Next, I use Scene Director to set up scenes and use synchronized animations, but I also use Minjo for most of my animation work. To enhance the world of GTA, I use Visual V and Natural Vision, together with Rage Euphoria and improvements in gore, because yeah. For dressing my characters, I use the EUP menu, together with the emergency uniform packs. If you want to know what mods I use for every individual machinima, just take a look at the credit roll at the end of all my machinimas. So those were the questions I wanted to get into for today. If you have more questions, just let me know in the comments and I'll probably answer them. Next is the future of this channel and the upcoming machinimas. Yes, finally something exciting! Let me start with the good parts. First of all, I'm still working on the machinimas that I teased a while back, and there's more to come. So let me talk a little bit about News, the first upcoming machinima on this channel. News will be the first machinima that I didn't write myself. It's written by my Spanish friend and very talented creator Alvaro. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. About a year ago, he came to me after he saw the contract, and he said he wanted to improve the sound of my machinimas. He said that he worked on Netflix productions like La Casa de Papel and Vis-a-Vis. Of course, I was really skeptical about it, but nevertheless I gave him the first scene of The Passenger to see what he came up with. And the results were simply amazing. And he kept surprising me through the whole project, and to be honest, without him The Passenger wouldn't have been so immersive without his sound design. So thank you. After that he came to me with an interesting script he was writing. He had his own channel with his own series called News. It was about a police unit who was trying to stop this major terrorist attack. So the sound of these little machinimas were amazing, but the visuals were not, unfortunately. And after I finished The Passenger, I was really interested in doing a military styled machinima again. So he asked me to bring his story alive and end this series for good. And so I started working on his project. This machinima will be in Spanish as the original series, but I will add English subtitles because most of you probably want to understand the story. Like me, because I'm not Spanish. Next up is The Shrink Part 2. Well, this is a really special project to me, because I consider The Shrink to be my first real machinima. And yes, it had a lot of flaws. The story was cliché, it had too many plot holes, the sound was shit and the visuals weren't as good as it is today. But it really reminds me of where I started, and it's something I created all on my own. That's probably why the story was a total shit show. On my other two machinimas, like The Passenger and especially The Contract, I get a lot of comments saying that my machinimas are inspired or straight up copies of other movies. And yes, I'm not gonna lie, I'm heavily inspired by other movies, and I think all of us are in the end. Like The Contract, I was inspired by Lone Survivor. 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. Act of Valor, American Sniper, and even Zero Dark 30. I took elements from those movies. I might even copy some dialogue. The same with The Passenger, where I was obviously inspired by Collateral, the thing with the cab driver.
I have to go, babe. Good night. Hey man, tell me where to go.
Parking lot at Peaceful Street.
My main character is based on John Tanner from Drive for San Francisco. The club scene has a kind of a John Wick vibe, and even the opening was taken from Den of Thieves. I'm not afraid to say this because I learned from it, and I think that's important. This way I learned how to make the right camera movements, I learned how to tell a story, I learned how to write my own dialogue. All these things helped me to create my own style, step by step. Like Picasso said, good artists copy, great artists steal, as long as you make it your own, in my opinion. So to come back on The Shrink Part 2, I wanted to continue the story of a character I created all on my own. But now I think I have the knowledge and skills to create something better and fully original. So it will not only be a sequel on the first Machinima, but also kind of a remake. A while back I finished the script for Part 2, and even shot the first scene. But after reading it again and again, I just threw it away and started over. Because I started making the same mistakes, and the story just didn't convey the message I was going for. So that's the current state of The Shrink Part 2 at the moment. I'm still writing, but in the meanwhile I'm also shooting small scenes, because most of the story is pretty clear now, at least in my head. So I still have to put it on paper, but it's definitely coming. So now about the channel overall. I will keep making machinimas, so don't worry, but it takes a lot of time and effort, and as I said, it's something I do in my spare time. The same thing goes for everybody who works on these projects, because besides this I've got a job, I go to college, and I've got a social life, believe it or not. Well, with the coronavirus at the moment, I don't. That's probably why I had the time to make this video. So I'm asking to have patience and stick around, because there's more to come. But I also want to do other things on this channel, because to be honest, I really like making this video. Even though that I'm not fully comfortable behind the microphone and cringing about my own voice. I would like to answer more of your questions and show a more in-depth view on how I make my machinimas than only in the background, as you could see. But I also would like to see your machinimas and review them and give my own tips and tricks. And I might even show how I would remake some of your scenes. So if you would like to see that, just send a link of the machinima you want me to get into, and I might talk about it in my next video. If you have watched the video all to this point, thank you for listening. I know it's not the regular content and probably not the best because it's my first time talking to an invisible audience. But I really wanted to address some comments and give an update on the channel and just let you know that I'm still alive. So let me know what you think about this video and if you want to see more. And leave a like if you enjoyed or learned something. Besides that, stay safe, stay healthy, may the force be with you. I don't fucking know how to end these kind of videos. But maybe, until next time.